Okay, and since we do have a quorum, we can move to item number 3 to approve the minutes from the September 28th meeting. Any? That is not looking at the September 28th agenda or minutes.
I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there support?
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, it's, okay, that's why we haven't, it's August 28th. The minutes were from the August 28th. The
Oh.
agenda says September. That's why I'm confused. I'm like,
Yeah,
finding the right document, but no, it's,
yeah, that's a
August
typo.
20th.
It would be hard to have the time.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm that good.
The minutes do reflect the correct date.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that I'm caught up, so discussion on the approval of the minutes? All in favor of approving as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Are approved. Public comment. We really have public, we just have staff here. Unless if anybody online had public comment, I don't know if Steve or Jeff, if you have anything you wanted to, oops,
Sorry.
bring as a comment or?
I'm sitting in today just to oversee or just answer any questions you might have regarding the process. So I'll try to attend all the meetings. Unfortunately, I'm double booked for the next meeting in October, but Christina Miller, who is supposed to be here, who couldn't be here today, will be attending that meeting in October as representing Eagle at that meeting.
We appreciate that. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to, as a comment or just here to listen in?
Yeah, we're going to be kicking off our process here in November. So Kimberly just suggested one of our DPW folks participate. We obviously don't have we're not doing a multi-county plan, but we did, all of us sort of committed to making sure we stay in each other's orbit as we go through this process, just so we can stay interconnected, even if we're not officially in some sort of intergovernmental local agreement. So yeah, as we kind of head down this road together, I'm looking forward to how Kent County and Ottawa County can find cool ways to partner.
Awesome.
So
That's
it'll
great.
either be myself or Darboss, our director, will try and at least observe or be available for these meetings.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and we'll move on to discussion items and we will go right to the bylaws.
All right, bylaws. So the state, I'll lead in with Eagle has finally sent out an email to the DPAs and other related people, kind of giving some guidance. And the guidance right now is don't work on the work plan. So I stopped. And I think everyone will stop because they want to, again, like I mentioned before, the order of operations, they see it as they need to have the draft MMP, the grant, and then work program. So they need to have all those done before you can start. So what they did say they would suggest doing is looking into creating bylaws. They also said to create your materials management plan, get those meetings going. Well, we've already done that. So for us, the next step would be to write and draft a bylaws if we choose to. There is no law stating that we have to have one. Historically, we haven't had one that I'm aware of. So that leads to deciding if bylaws are what we want to do. I provided everyone with the Eagles bylaws that they gave for a draft. We can choose to work off of that or do our own thing if that's what you guys want to do, or look into others bylaws or other things that you guys like. So essentially opening it for discussion and then ending it with a vote whether to do them or not. And then we can start drafting them.
Can I interject here just for
Go
a
ahead.
moment? I've started working on this from the model or example that they've provided us. And like I have already stated, I think it's a good idea to have a working bylaws as to how you're going to be operating. And since you didn't have any before, I think even though they suggest, I think that they're stating that you probably should. Just so you can stay within the guidelines and the border of what they want and expect of this committee. So, like I said, I've already started working on them. And hopefully I would have them ready before, I would love to say before October, but October is next Tuesday. So definitely I would have them ready before the next meeting, so that you can look at them.
Is there anyone that's not in favor of us having bylaws?
Please state your reasons.
Or forever hold your peace.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed the draft and it seems like most of the things in here we're already doing for the most
Yeah.
part. So it's just formalizing it and,
Mhm.
you know, saying that we would agree to it, so. Yeah, I don't
It
see any
helps. It
reason
seems
why we
like it
wouldn't
would
want it.
stop us from going in circles on occasion and just
Yeah.
making sure everyone's clear on what the commitments are that they're signing up for,
Mhm.
rules of engagement. I like that. So the question I started to ask, which was, thank you for
Yeah.
stopping me.
Mhm.
I've been back-to-back meetings all day, so I'm always in a hurry. It's my own fault. I'm still hopeful that somehow we're gonna figure out a way to be able to have a quorum when some people are virtual meeting versus
Mhm.
being here physically. Especially in the winter months when sometimes the weather gets the better of us. Is there a way to address that in the bylaws, or is that still just not possible in Ottawa County?
There, for example, there's a groundwater of Ottawa County. And it has, authority. Oh, in its bylaws, they have the ability to participate and vote virtually. But that was because there's no authority for decision making. So I don't know where that puts us in the context of this committee.
This
That
committee
is a
is,
question that I had in terms of what kind of committee this is. Is it advisory in nature, or is there some decision making that this board makes? If so, it also states under this model that the state has provided us that you are subject to the Open Meetings Act. Thus, the Open Meetings Act states that if a person is missing from the board or committee, they could vote and partake in the discussion, but they only can vote if they are sick or they are in the military. And otherwise, they can just participate, but they would not have any voting powers. And that would also change the quorum.
yeah, and from my understanding, and Jeff, since you represent Eagle, you might be able to reinforce this, that this is a body that's not advisory. It is because, for example, when, let's say the plan comes to be approved, it needs both this committee's approval and the board. It can't be
That's
one
correct.
or the other. It's not like, oh, board, we think this looks good. What do you think? You get to vote. No, it's required to have both entities approve it. So it also means that if, like, say, the board, like historically, when the board said, hey, we want to change this, they couldn't just change it and approve it. This board had to agree on it, not board, this committee had to agree to do it as well. So it had to be there. You can't do one without the other.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Leading us to follow Open Meetings Act.
yes. So, but in the case though, that we could add in our bylaws, at least the sick option.
Sick option is still helpful.
You gotta have a doctor's note though.
Like
No,
really?
you don't need,
legitimate?
you don't need, you don't need a doctor's note.
Nope.
There's a low trust there. So if you call in and you say that you are sick, usually they call in before so that everybody knows that they're gonna be online, but they won't be able to.
Yeah, I
they're
quite frankly
sick
would
or something.
rather you stay home if you're sick, you know,
Yeah.
not get the
Yeah.
rest of us sick, but
Mhm.
are still able to participate and you know, move things forward. It just gets tough, right? We don't meet that often and
Yeah,
farms
and,
important.
and that provision was modified due to COVID. They didn't want people coming in for a meeting when they're sick. So they made these changes.
So I guess speaking of COVID, during COVID, you could participate in meetings and have quorums and vote, you know, virtually. But then that has kind of been reverted back, like that's still not
Correct.
available.
Correct. Yeah, they modified it during COVID and then they changed it after COVID was, the period was over.
So to be clear, if you're sick, you could participate virtually and vote virtually.
That is correct. And if you're sick, if you're not sick, you're out of town or something like that, and you want to participate, you can do so. You just wouldn't be able to vote.
Unless you're out of town and sick.
That
Right,
is,
all those options
that's someplace.
in the bylaw. Yeah.
I'll leave it to this board to figure out another way.
See, now we're having as much fun as the group.
We are,
Yeah.
So when I read section 6 here, it says each member of the MMPC has one vote. There is no proxy vote. So you can't assign somebody to come in and vote on behalf of you.
Right.
Then it says each member shall be present during the motion and discussion of the voting issue at hand to be eligible to vote. So you have to be a part of the conversation. And then it says each member understands the MMCC is now a separate legal entity, blah, blah, blah. If circumstances prevent a member from being physically present, a member may participate in discussion and vote by teleconference or video conference if he is present for all discussion related to the motion and voting. So it sounds to me like you can be on anywhere, as long as you're active in the conversation before it, you can still vote virtually.
Hey Jeff, is this a good question to run by, Christine Miller?
Christine Miller. Who's Christine?
Yeah.
Miller?
He's.
Yes, I'll run that by her regarding that.
Oh, I think
I don't know who
Yeah.
she is, but I can say this. These are model bylaws and let me see, make sure Section 5, conducting business, it says full compliance with the Open Meetings Act. So you may have been, these bylaws are put together based on Part 115, which is fine, but you still have to be compliant
Yeah.
with the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder where there's maybe like an interpretation or something, like, I don't know. I know a lot, I mean, I'm guessing Christine Miller is one of the ones that was part of this drafting of this, cause that's what she does.
That's fine, but
Yeah, but no, you're
I'm giving the
you're
same
legal, yeah,
legal advice that I gave to the board,
yeah,
and that's how they are running their meetings and other boards that I have participated in.
yeah, appreciate that. That's why you're here.
I'll get back with you on that.
Yeah,
I like to think that's why I'm here.
appreciate that, Jeff. Yeah, okay.
And Jack, this is sort of a side question, but I'm gonna ask it because I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Okay,
Would it be a true statement that counties and cities and townships and committees like this are held to a little different standard than maybe a nonprofit board or something that can maybe have their own rules around this? Is that why it's more tied to
Well,
the,
Yeah.
because I see all different rules on different boards that I sit on. and
Sure,
I
sure.
just don't want to confuse the two.
Well, when you have a nonprofit board and they are not affiliated with any government or a municipality or county or things, they're not subject to the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, that's what I just want to make sure that that's.
Yeah, they
the
just have to
clarification.
comply. Well, usually they just comply with the Robert's Rules of Order.
Which is what they,
But,
most of the ones on mine do.
Yeah, if they wanted to put in their rules that if you're out there,
I have ones you can vote by
regardless if
email.
you're sick or not, yeah, you can participate and vote.
Okay. And that's their purview, because it's not
That is right. That's correct.
a municipality or state, whatever. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. Just want to make sure I.
No, it's a
keep
good
those
question.
Separate.
Very good question.
It's still good to ask clarification too with state, just because not necessarily for us, but if this draft that the state has provided, if that needs to be updated and changed, it's good to know, because I think we're
That's-
one of the few that are starting. I know a lot are starting this, I think, heard discussion of it starting this month or next month. People are shooting to start, so we can help
I-
others too.
I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely, that's a good point, and I think that if they're gonna use these as a model, they probably should be correct. And I look forward to hearing what Jeff comes back with after talking to Christine.
It'd be interesting too, if you have multi-county plans that are like 4 or 5 counties wide, how long a travel could be to get to a meeting too, like going across 3 counties.
Thinking
Yeah.
of.
For the UP.
Right.
And I,
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't have anything under the Open Meetings Act due to distance that you have to travel to a meeting.
Well, and there's questions in my mind, like I've already got myself involved in Kent County and Ottawa County, because that's what I know I can personally handle the distance stuff, but of course, Padnos operates across the state and into Indiana, and there's part of me that's like, boy, I'd really love to cover all the counties that we operate in, because that would be more connected than for us, but I just don't think I physically can get myself to all those locations in a timely fashion and coordinate all of that on top of my other duties. But if they're, remote meetings make that more, so I think about those things, but I
Sure.
haven't figured it all out yet. I'm tackling what I think I can do well.
I appreciate that we made
Maybe.
the
You guys.
Yeah, we got you first. Mission accomplished.
Can't, they're big. I worry about Detroit, that's okay.
To Nick's point, we do have to clarify that 6C, whether that's part of it or not.
That's the good. Sounds like the Opens Meeting Act says you can't do this, and then this says, yes, you can. If we clarify that, I fully agree we should have bylaws, we just want to make sure we're in compliance with.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My thought would be that we would vote to start to draft them, not to like say, yes, we'll just insert bubbles here.
Yeah.
Because there may be items too, once we start diving into it, we might wanna tweak, or maybe something we wanna add, or something like that, like I haven't like dug in and read each line item
It
yet.
sounds like Jack's got a good handle on it.
Yeah, that's what,
Well, I can assure you, after looking at them and starting the process already, there are things that I would be adding to this model, such as, just for an example, where it says, let's see. Oh, boy. Article 4, Section 1, where it talks about chairperson. That's fine. But what if the chairperson isn't there? So I'm gonna add vice chairperson, as well as
Yeah.
a secretary. Because you have a secretary who's recording
that's
everything.
true.
So there's different roles and how they all function together. I'm gonna include that and a few other things.
Yeah, cause I just glanced and I saw section 7 is conflict of interest. Which anyone that has a landfill in their county like us will have a conflict of interest probably issue. So I don't know how to address that one. Cause 2 people on this committee have financial conflict of interest. So
Kent County will have the same problem.
they will too, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a common, I mean, they run everything, so like, county can't be in their own committee. Yeah.
Which I guess would
so,
be another point.
yeah.
It would be
Yeah,
nice if, when Jack gets his done, maybe
Yeah.
you talk to the attorney, what attorney is looking at this for Kent County. I mean, and
yeah,
we can learn from each other, right? Like. it'd be
Oh,
nice
sure,
to-
because this is also new. I mean,
Right.
part 115 is still being looked at by the state, if I'm not mistaken,
You
Jeff.
know,
yeah. you're-
Kent County is
Yeah.
gonna be a leader in this space. We'll be a leader in this space. We should
Mhm.
help figure this out. And
Yeah.
do it the best way we can.
And one other thing, as far as the conflict of interest, and I only think off the top of my head in terms of
Yeah.
the membership that is determined by state statute. You have this person who's
Yeah.
representing and this party being represented. And if that party has a conflict of interest, well, that's a little strange. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet in reading
Okay.
over these model bylaws. But I think you're right. I would be more than happy to talk with anybody. Um, uh, about anything about this board.
Mhm.
Want to get it right.
Yeah. Yep, we appreciate that. So I would say if everyone votes to say yes, we want bylaws, then I would think the next step and confirm everyone that it would be to get Jack's version out to the entire committee to start looking at and possibly provide feedback for drafts. And then at our next meeting, we can have this is where the draft stands, and then we can get any verbal changes, shifts, or if anyone has thoughts they wanna, talk about as a group, we could do it then. And then, if it needs to go to another meeting to be finalized, depends on when everyone feels comfortable, but eventually just keep working on towards it until we approve it.
I'd be happy to motion to draft bylaws.
Support. Right.
Okay.
I heard the motion.
Yeah.
Motion.
Yeah.
Supported.
Definitely, it seems like it's a no-brainer that we should do
Yeah,
this.
and
And there's some goofy conflict things in here that somebody
Yeah.
like Jack can really iron out for us. Then our next
Yeah.
meeting, we can hash it out.
and
get
it
on
might
the same
take some
page.
time for a couple of the issues to get to the
Yeah.
clarity. I don't know
Yeah.
that that's something we can even figure out without external help,
Yeah,
either
yeah,
from Eagle or from working with attorneys in other counties, but
yeah.
get there.
And I will add, it's kind of on like discussion items part 2, but I'll add it here too. As you can see that, as you guys requested to invite the surrounding DPAs, I've done that. Heather couldn't make it today either, and I don't think Muskegon, their regional representative, couldn't make it to this meeting either. So in the future, they might be attending. So so everyone said they could attend that you guys requested. So, and they're part of the email chains I'll send out too. So they'll see, every time I send out meetings, I use the meeting invite to send out the emails. So they will also be getting the correspondence too, to see what we're doing too, the effort that you guys are kind of touching on. So, yeah, Steve, Dar, Heather, I think it's Aaron with Muskegon. We'll all be able to see what the work that we're doing too, and efforts again to be that collaborative group.
Great.
I just want to check, Tristan, did you have enough like to capture what the motion was, or do you need somebody to reiterate the wording of a motion? We kind of got an action item like number 6.
We did change the agenda to have,
Yeah, because I think it makes sense in this case, because
yeah,
Paul's gonna leave early to the discussion, but then we went ahead and made the motion.
yeah,
So it would be, it is that action item 6A.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, the motion is essentially just to move
Draft
forward with drafting bylaws. I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that.
yeah.
So we've got motion and support. Any further discussion? And all in favor? Motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay. All right, good. And then, yeah, we'll just wait to, Jack will get a draft to you and you'll just pass it along to us. So-
Yeah. And then send your edits to me and then I'll put them onto a single
Sure.
sheet. So it doesn't look like there's 50 of them.
Okay, so, yeah, so we'll go back up to the original discussion item 5A. And really
Yeah.
just mention some of
Yeah.
this, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys gave a few items that you wanted for us to do as we go forward, essentially. Kind of similar in what we discussed, these could be part of our bylaws. But yeah, so I reached out to Eagle, to, Jeff is our regional representative, so that's why I reached out to Jeff. And then, Jeff included, Christine Miller, because she does a lot of more of like the wording of the MMP type drafting is the best way to kind of think of it. She's got the language down, and then Jeff will represent us on the different types of items. As well as, I guess I'll update since we talked about Eagle here, as Eagle reframed. So like the materials management group, planning group is now in with the recycling group. That, from what I understand, is that's been solved. So they're in there. There's still some, I think, logistical stuff, but that's the best way to think of it. And then they're working on, like I said, those 3 big things, the work program, the grant, and the draft MMP. So that's that. And I also invited our DPAs for the surrounding counties. That is something that you guys thought, and that was a great deal, which I was kind of already talking with Steve and Heather, so this kind of just brings you guys in with them. So, and then they, also invited me in return to their meetings. So if I can attend, I know Elegance is tricky, because that one's at like 6 or 7 at night. And that's like right when my kids go to bed, but they do have a remote option too, so I can try to figure out how to do those. And then I can always bring information back to you guys on those, so that, again, we work as a group still. And then, as you can see, I'm recording the video now. I've worked, if you looked on, the Ottawa County channel, our PR, but, our person, she has posted it on YouTube now, and then we will be able to also post it. So like, it'll be like our board. So you'll see agendas, you can watch it, and, our packet. I think those are the 3. So you should be able to do that. I talked to our IT about the transcript. Apparently, there was a glitch when they did something and it automatically got turned off when it got added. So they're working on turning it up for the whole county. So that's what they told me today. So we will be able to transcribe them. I don't know when. I don't know how long that takes. I don't even know what the transcribes look like. I just heard of it. You guys are talking about it, so. Yeah, you like, can't use it. You will be able to.
Previously,
Yeah, I don't know. Someone told me that it's because we're government, we couldn't use it. Like our package doesn't work. But then IT was like, oh no, it was a glitch. It automatically turned it gray, so you couldn't use it. I don't know. So to come. So then we'd then give it still to Trista. To kind of use that for our minutes. So that's those items. And then I did hit B2. They sent that. I'm trying to think, I don't think there's anything else big in that email from Eagle besides new programming. They're gonna start redoing the work group in the near future on the third Wednesday of each month at 10:30 a.m. So I'll join that. They got everyone's notice of attendance. And those, I think those are the big ones I haven't told you already. And that they suggested do bylaws. That's what we're doing. Email update, and then my thought was I made a PowerPoint, a real brief one. Since we had talked about like wanting to know more big picture, like there was still some fusion. So I took some of Eagle's documents and just did like a brief PowerPoint. I can either go over it or you guys can review it, but I thought it might be to kind of like refocus and recenter kind of thing. Like, because it is a long, lengthy document and the state does have tons of guidance on it. So if that's something you want me to do, I will do it. Or you can just look at it, you know, it's kind of,
I reviewed it. I thought it
Okay.
was very comprehensive.
that's what I was shooting for. So.
I do read everything you said, so you know.
You never know.
No, I mean, honestly, it was good. I mean, I looked at the website, I went through the
Mhm.
different sections, and even though some of it
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of information, I thought it
Yeah.
was, I didn't have anything to add. I mean, I think
Okay.
all of the pieces are there. There's just,
Yeah,
we don't have a lot of information yet. I mean,
yeah, and that's essentially,
there's,
Mhm.
we're waiting for Eagle on certain areas. That's just the way it is.
yeah, and that's why I try to direct as much as I could, because if they're the leading source of
I
information,
think
then,
that
yeah.
I think that that's good. I think you know what you want to accomplish. There's, I think we're on top of things. We're in a good space. If anyone
Yeah.
else has a comment.
Does anyone want to go through those slides together in the meeting? Or
Or
you
is there
just,
anything else? But got 15 minutes left before you have to leave. Just to make sure we,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of details in there that I would appreciate going. However, in order of priority, we can put that towards the end, so
Yeah,
if people have to go, you can spend
Alright.
some time with those that want, you know, there's
Yeah.
some people.
that's perfect, yeah, because again, I wanted to offer it, like, I didn't want to just go over if everyone's like, that, this is perfect, that's all I needed, you
yeah,
know?
because I guess
Yeah.
that would be my
Yeah.
instinct. It would be
Yeah.
helpful for the people that have not been part of this group. as
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
And it's a good
Mhm.
refresher for those of us that.
yeah, I'm happy to listen to it. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we
Yeah.
cover
Yep.
everything
Yep.
that
Mhm.
everyone needs to hear first.
Yep. That's
Because
good.
you could spend 3 hours on that.
Oh,
easily.
I could, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's my hope not to do. so.
Okay,
We could.
so yeah, do we want to move then? Well, we're
Yep.
gonna hold that
Yep.
5C and we'll move to 5E and go through those items
Yeah.
first.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay.
So I realized that I did not give you guys the data. I mentioned the data, like I was gonna talk about it. I didn't have all the data yet either that the intern was recently working on. Like we kind of talked about before, it's just getting, well, what do municipalities have? Do they have anything? Because Eagle did do the mega data project, but it didn't really get us anything. So with that, so I had our intern reach out, pretty much. Biggest questions were, as you could, if you found it. I can't find it up, but does your county have anything related to materials management such as trash, recycling, sustainability or anything like that? Most of them, so I did kind of do like a general, like grab the information, 10 out of the 15 counties, sorry, municipalities have something. Most are just general, like blight kind of things and trash, essentially don't have trash out in your yard. Or burning that are kind of tied to that. A few have haulers. Only one specifically has recycling, like named in it. Some of the haulers say you have to choose this hauler and their pricing for it is this or this. But I think the only one is that City of Holland is the only one that says recycling is required. I did not read them all, but that's just based on like the names of what they are. Like, so a lot of them say Blythe or hauling, burning, solid waste. So everything mostly is revolved around trash. Now, I thought, okay, now maybe as this goes, we have our discussions with them. That's where they might want to either update or revise them if they require to with certain laws that they have, or we'd work with them or have the county ordinance or something like that. So that's just something down the line. So it's essentially, do you have something? A few of them, another question we asked was, do you have any possible future goals? Excuse me, is this on your radar to do anything materials management? Do you have groups that are active in your area that you know of? I want to say Spring Lakes and Grand Haven area, off the top of my head, were the ones that did have stuff going forward and active sustainable groups. Which I do know the village of Spring Lake, or the township, one of those two, were saying that they want to make it more robust. They had just done the haulers, his township, the haulers ordinance. So they don't have the data back from that yet. I talked to Dan is City of Holland, that's on our committee, and I want, because one of the questions I have is, if you look at the word access, like you must have access. Well, what's access? In theory, our drop-off sites could provide access to everyone. So I wanted to know, because Dan has the most data. I asked him if he could see how many don't qualify in their ordinance. So his ordinance is single homes up to, I think triplexes. So essentially apartments and I don't know, like quad, didn't know there was triplexes, so. So just to see if access meant the individual gets to pick. Cause if it's a triplex, the owner of the triplex would be the person that decides for those individuals. And it's the apartment building that would, so I was just kind of getting like, if we really got to the minutia, which Dan's the one that has the most minutia data. What is that? Because, in their mind, 100% of, I mean, honestly, if you look at our map that I had our previous intern done, Ottawa County has 100% access, but the very tip of Conklin. That's the only person that doesn't have access to recycling. Everyone has access to trash. So,
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a clarifying question on that. Because the word access, I think that's a good question. And I am assuming, and now it's been a while since I've read all of these new rules. And I don't remember exactly the language and exactly where Ottawa County fits into the definitions of the new rules. So when we say access and you say Conklin doesn't fit, is it because their population size and the number of miles to the closest drop-off location?
So
How are we defining that access for them?
So I was trying to, so when I had the intern do it, I was thinking at the most hands-off government kind of way. So, which is at the haulers level.
So what I want to do is think about it in terms of what's legally required first. I mean, we can have an ideal state of like a dream state, but let's make sure we meet the legal requirement of what the material management plan says we have to have first.
So that's where it gets, in my mind, it gets muddy because, so I did ask clarifying with drop-offs. That we talked about before, and I talked to Jeff yesterday. So legally, a drop-off for the county is, I think per our population is we have to have 6.
So it's not necessarily within so many miles.
But so that's where, so that's why I had this little chart that I had made. So it's based on your population size, that the municipalities might be required if they do not have it. So Conklin would technically be required to a certain point to have a drop off. Now, the idea is that they'd work with the county to be able to have that. Now, and then you get into the weeds of defining, does the Coopersville site technically count for that? So that's where it gets kind of confusing
Okay.
is,
So I'm gonna slow us down for just a
Yep,
second, because
good.
this is where our group is gonna struggle.
Mhm.
This is gonna be the hard part,
yeah.
okay?
Mhm,
But we're gonna have to do it eventually,
mhm,
and hopefully we'll get some guidance from Eagle
mhm,
and the work plan in general,
mhm.
right? But in my mind, and I'm trying to make it as simple as I can, we need an Excel spreadsheet
Yeah,
that says, these are the requirements based on our county side,
yeah,
and kind of like a gap analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm thinking Excel, like,
Yeah.
this is the requirement, this is what we have, these are the gaps.
yeah,
And then we can start to figure out what the
Yeah.
plan is to fill in the gaps.
yeah,
And then we can have maybe like a dreams, like, I love the idea of dreaming.
Yeah.
But we gotta meet the gaps first.
Yeah.
Like, and we have to just start with identification.
yeah.
And I wanna get us from
Yeah.
like, well, I think this, no, like.
Yeah,
At some point, we gotta be a little black and white, or we're gonna make ourselves crazy. And if we don't know, we just say, you know what, I don't know, that's not clearly defined. And we
mhm,
figure out how to get it clearly defined. It's okay to say, I don't know,
mhm,
but to sit and speculate, we'll go
Yeah.
in circles and go crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's,
Yeah.
this part's the hard part.
yeah, and that's why I'm just getting the most raw data. So that then we can do the gap analysis, because essentially. So who has this, who has what? Is there a hauler there? Is there, that's part of the gap analysis, where, what's left, and then they'll take that and compare it to. The law and. That's,
Can we start
Yeah.
popping that into an Excel somehow, though? Do you need help with that?
I
Like,
need
is,
money.
you need money for it?
I need,
Okay.
so yes, I need help. Get help, I need money.
Okay,
And to get money, I need to have a work program. And I need a grant. And I need the county to approve.
okay. How can we help you with that?
Don't think you can right now.
It's more of a timing issue, right?
It's timing
Things have
and
to-
it's timing and, logistics, I think. So I think there'll be a time, yeah. Help, that, yes, let's do this. We need help doing this. Some of it will be the work that we do in this. The continuous, like. Do we need to hire more staff? To do what you want here, to do that stuff, to constantly, because once you do the gap analysis, there's also data requirements. So it's, yeah, there's this little bit that branches into this whole big thing. So right now I'm trying to think this and try to stay here, and that is simply waiting for the grant. And working within the scope of I have. Because I also manage our sites too.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you've got a
Yeah.
lot. And
I-
this isn't
yeah.
me.
So I can have
It's
little
not me putting
interns.
Figures, this
Yeah.
is me trying to
Yeah.
help you hug it in, cause it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And I get that, but it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And
Yeah.
if there was a way that we could, have a committee that just goes through and like, I don't know, if there's a document that Eagle's gonna produce that helps us lay it,
Yeah.
I just feel like gotta be somehow
Mhm.
a way to,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think. I saw this chart the other day. It was really nice. It was like a picture of like building a castle. And it's like, all right, this is what we're gonna build. So let's focus on what we can do today. So right now we can do today is the bylaws and dream big. Dream of the castle. Yes. All good points. And yeah, I do agree with everything you said.
Tough.
Get there. So yes. So I'm collecting what little data I can, so we can make a gap analysis. Make it go faster and easier. Work program, it's coming. So I got for that, and then, yeah, if anyone had any, feedback on the website, that was the question I had asked you guys. to look at it, provide any questions. You don't necessarily have to do it now, and if, as you do it, I did ask. I was eventually would hope to get like a button where public or anyone or municipalities could click on it. And then say, hey, we have a question on this, or we have a request or something, just a way to, again, provide another option to get information to us. Will I think it'll be highly used? Probably not, but again, I want to be able to provide every option possible, and that's a simple enough kind of thing to do. Is just add a, hey, we want this, or have you thought of this? And eventually we'll need it anyways for opening it up to public forum, so what's making it sooner than later? That's something I can do. As in,
Yeah, cause
yes, I
that's
keep
my
it.
like one, like
Mhm.
quick, easy thing looking at the website is I don't see how to contact somebody if I have questions.
Yeah, that's what I had thought the same too.
I always figured they were developed that way so people couldn't figure it out. At least when I'm trying to reach somebody.
Yeah.
Can we go back? I just have a
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Following back up with Carrie's thing.
Yeah.
So is the issue we don't know what information we want to collect? Because if we wanted to break it down to the haulers,
Mhm.
I would think that we could put together something just simple of listing all the communities.
Mhm.
And then, do you provide this service in that area? And between Russ, myself, Matt from WM, I'm gonna run out of them residentially, but, I mean,
what communities you say?
I know.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what her,
Yeah,
her intern did, right?
Yeah.
Like, she asked.
yeah, my other one.
But what
Yeah.
did she ask? Cause I don't remember.
I had her ask for Republic. I guided her to, I think I asked Justin, and Justin guided us to a hauler. Maybe, no, Jack Brown. We asked Jack Brown.
I talked to her.
And then Russ, and then with Mammoth, she also talked to a lot of the municipalities and asked, so she started with municipalities and said, who's your known haulers? And then from there went there.
Is there any way that I could see what
Yeah.
was submitted for Republic? I just want to make sure that it's
Yeah,
accurate.
I knew we tried to be, because when you get talking to you guys use the word proprietary a lot. So I can, I'll see if I can break it down to that level, or if she just kept it like no names, like, so.
Well, even with no names, if there was an area that there's no service, you would at least be
Yeah.
able to look at it
Yeah.
and say, hey,
That's
there's
what I
no
would be more
service.
Yeah,
interested
so
in.
that's what-
Confirm that.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up for you.
Really need to.
Well, cause
Yeah.
the haulers not have like service area maps
If you look at the, so
Not
we
necessarily.
so we took
Check in the
the,
internally.
yeah, so let me show you what we have, what we created. I just gotta find the.
But my concern
Yeah.
is I'm not sure that we've defined as part of the materials management planning process at Eagle. I don't remember reading it. It doesn't mean it's not there. I don't remember reading it. I haven't read it in, I don't know, probably 2 years now. What does it mean to have access? Right? Does it mean I can pay somebody $10 to pick it up at my house? Or does it mean I have within a 10-minute drive, I can drop it off? Like, I don't know what that means. So does Conklin have access or not? If we have 6 drop-off centers and that meets the requirement for the county, are we good? And now it's just a matter of writing the plan to showcase what we have. What does that mean? And then improving upon it? Like, what is? We have to be able
Yeah.
to state where we are
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
before we can talk about where we want to go.
that's why I started talking to people and seeing what ordinance they have, what do they have, yeah. And that's why I had the intern do it. Like I said, the only place, and from this is what we could find out, again, that's where it struggles. Is that the very tip of Conklin does not have true access through a hauler. And that's only for recycling, trash they do. There's certain areas that only have access to one. Some of that is because of, it's more rural, and then some of it is because the municipality has, like City of Holland. Some areas have like 4 or 5, and that's Hudsonville, Jenison area, which if you think about it, that makes sense. They have more access to the Kent County haulers. So, and I'll just make a note to send that to you guys so that you can see that. I'll send it to the group.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I guess what you're saying is,
Mm-hmm,
based on the discussions,
mm-hmm.
the tip account is the only one that is not a, allegedly not a hauler in that area.
For recycling.
For recycling, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really all.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll send that map, like I said, those are, I had them converted into GIS maps, so. And the tricky part is, you
And I'm-
gotta take a hand
What's in the
drawing,
tip account?
Yeah.
Is it-
yeah,
I'm just curious.
oh, it could be
It's
one
considered
home,
the
yeah,
Tip account.
yeah. So it's, yeah, the upper, so if you look at, so like Ottawa County. It's,
No,
when I say tip,
That's for sure.
yeah, well, if you look at this is, so the coloring on this is population density. 2,000 to 3,000 people in this whole area. And I literally talked to a person out here and he goes, if you look every single way, that's all my farming. So it literally could probably be 2 people. But yeah, so it's just this part up here.
They probably don't even have a waste hauler, let alone recycler, like they probably are
Yeah.
handling their trash their own way.
I do know that I've talked to some farmers at our Coopersville site. I don't know exactly where they're farming from, but they ideally wanted to have a 1-day recycling membership because they will store their recycling for the whole year until it fills something and then they'll bring it in. So
But that's
you
not,
have the
that
capacity
isn't,
to
that
do
probably,
it. Yeah,
well,
that's not everyone, but I'm just saying
but
farmers.
the
think different.
recycle
Yeah,
centers won't have the capacity to handle that, most of them.
yeah,
So that isn't necessarily
yeah, they fill it.
gonna work.
They still do that. They pay for the year membership. We make them, but yeah, they still, yeah, they fill it in pretty much 40 yard.
Kimberly,
So-
one of the things you said at the very beginning was to define, one of the goals was to define access. Is that something we need to do, or is that something waiting for?
That is
Eagle to
something,
deliver to us?
so those are like kind of questions that eventually, what I'll do after this probably, or not to, right away, but will be to message Eagle and ask them, hey, is there a clearer define? That's like kind of like when I asked about the drop offs.
Yeah.
That's something that we had a similar discussion, like, what is that? And I know they said they're still working on it too, but they kind of give some guidance, at least that it does fall on to the county to work with the municipality to get that, because I said the wording on it, you see it kind of worded differently, like, oh, so how it's kind of worded in one section, it states that municipalities under X amount of populations have to have at least a drop off. If they don't provide, if they don't ensure curbside. So. And then you can sit there and dissect every language and every verbiage, so that's where I'm like, well, and then like you said, finding access, I'm not willing to drive a half hour to drop off my recycling. So having a 45-minute drive to go to a drop off, is that still access? Because if you're not willing to go, whereas more rural communities, they might be willing to do it. Whereas if you look at, say, City of Holland, those type of people, their city, they're more condensed. I'm only going to drive 5 minutes. Within a 5-minute block, I can get everything I need. Why would I go 20 minutes to go recycle? Like, I can't define those terms without, I've looked up that data before. We've asked a little bit when I worked with Dan to do it and got some kind of like a base data set for that kind of question. But yeah, essentially, yeah, the rural people are willing to drive further, but there's a limit for everyone. So, but no, for access, it was something that I would probably start with, just ask Eagle. Do you have a more clear definition of access?
They did say that, like, having a hauler offer service in an area is access. I think
Yeah.
where the confusion is the distance and drop offs and population.
Yeah.
So that's the probably clarification to be looking for.
Yeah, and then if you also think about and I think about this because I have a drop off in Coopersville. It says, it does define that it has to be open for 24 hours within a month. So 24 hours. So our site in Coopersville is open 8 hours a week, 2 4-hour shifts. And then 1 4 hours, 4 or 3, because it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 hours. Yeah, 4-hour shift on Saturday once a month. So that has it. But then again, is that convenient for everyone when you're trying to reach such a rural population? We get complaints about that site the most. But at the same time, it is serving the least amount of people. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanna affirm that's true, that if a hauler is providing services, recycling services, is offering, recycling services to a community, that is considered access. Now, they don't have to, subscribe to it, but it has to be offered. And so those municipalities that are under the threshold of 10,000, if they want to partner or through the county, with a neighboring municipality, they could set up a memorandum of understanding, letter of understanding to allow those residents from those municipalities to participate in their collection program. So that was part of the discussion we had yesterday, I believe it was, Kim. Just to reiterate that, when we talk about access, it's just what is available, and under 10,000. There is not really a requirement for that access. So I'm going to verify this is the first meeting that we've attended. So I'm taking copious notes about these questions that you have, and I'll confirm what I just said to you, but that is how we have approached it in the past.
So I just want to ask a clarifying question on that. Thank you. That was very helpful. So in this particular case, the county operates these drop-off centers. So it's not a municipality, it's a county. So if the municipality or the township of Conklin is the operating township that has less than 10,000 people in it, but Ottawa County is saying, yes, you're welcome to have any of your residents in Conklin use our drop-off centers in the county, and we have an agreement as such. You're saying, to the best of your knowledge, and you're going to verify it, that would count as access because
Correct.
any of the 6 county. Okay. Just want to
Correct.
make sure we were
Correct.
clear.
And there's no
So does that-
radius, there's no distance, there's nothing written into the law regarding that. I've been through this planning process twice, and basically studies, that we looked at in the past show that people will travel up to 20 minutes, but probably no more than that to participate in a drop off or recycling. So just by rule of thumb, that's what I consider, access, but there's nothing in the law regarding distance or radius from that municipality to those services.
so that would be something that could be defined in the county's plan if they wanted to. If they wanted to
Right.
say our definition of access is XYZ, that would be what we would have to decide and then then just also write in infrastructure to eventually meet that.
Right. Access for this municipality is through this arrangement.
Yeah, from my
Mhm.
perspective, I'm just trying to get us to focus on the things that are going to have
Yeah.
the most impact
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
And, the tip of Conklin, in my mind,
Yeah,
is pretty low on the impact.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to forget about them. Like, I
Yeah.
want everybody to recycle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a tree hugger, but
yeah,
like,
that's why.
I'm more worried about a major apartment complex in the city of Holland.
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking, yeah. So my opinion, the bigger focuses should be on apartments and businesses.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how many hours of a day do you spend at your business, your place of work?
That's where the impact's gonna be.
Yeah, that's just my thoughts and opinions, but especially knowing that, like I said, essentially all of Ottawa County has access in some form.
Sure sounds like it.
So that's not the biggest, it's, it's the hard to recycle type items and businesses and apartments. That's why I asked Dan if you have the data, it doesn't hurt to get it. Cause
Yeah.
I have someone that can convert it into something just to see, best case scenario, does every single person,
Sounds like we have
yeah,
access.
so. Yeah, like apartments.
Unless Jeffrey comes
yeah.
back and says something different, everyone
Yeah.
has access.
Yeah,
With the exception of apartments, that's gonna have to be addressed.
and that's where.
Because if
yeah.
you live in an apartment complex that's more than 2 units,
Mhm.
you don't have a say whether you can.
And
Yeah.
condos.
Yeah,
Right.
I live in a
Mhm.
condo where
yeah, so, yeah,
that decision is made for me.
yeah.
You guys do 8-yard containers for mixed recycling, or would you have just cardboard? Or could they do like a plastic bottles, little
So, I mean, for us, we do have it, it's more limited in geographical area right now. But we also have part of recycling available for businesses.
For business. I know that the curbside stuff I've seen from all you guys, but I didn't know, and I've seen like the 2 or 3 yarders that cardboard in, right? But I haven't seen where it's been like a 2 or 8 yarder that you can throw cardboard, plastics, any of your commingled single stream recycling.
Yeah, I mean, we do have it, I don't want to speak for us or waste, but, I think most haulers are going that way and starting to offer that. The thing that you want to keep it on a set route that way, because if I were to take it over to Carrie's company and drop it off, you know,
I don't want that.
I lose all the value of just the cardboard, so it needs to,
Right.
logistically, it needs to make sense.
Understood. Yeah, because that seems to be the ticket for the business and multi-dwelling. People that are sharing those resources that
There's
have.
a have to unpack
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
because there's a cost to do single
Of
stream.
course.
There is a cost. That is what it is, and you lose the value of the corrugated when you go to single stream. And there's nothing that Padnos could do to change that factor that Republic or Aero Waste or Waste Management can do. You go single stream, you lose the value of the corrugated. And nobody's gonna pay you more for it.
But we do have, like drop-off boxes, similar to like the county has. That we have in certain apartment complexes. If the apartment complex wants to provide that service.
Right. Yeah, we also have, front load single stream containers as well too, in certain geographical areas. Multifamily just has a wide variety of issues as to why it doesn't work there, why it's difficult to do there. But we do have some apartment complexes that are, really invested in it and they do it well, but it's,
Has to be higher contamination levels and all kinds.
yes, you have to make it inconvenient for somebody to recycle in multifamily. Because if it's convenient, then everybody just can throw the trash in.
We'll tackle that. Obviously we can't solve all the issues, but we'll get there. We'll get what we can do in the plan, but for today, it looks like we are. Okay. Back to the agenda. Just in the light of that, we've already done some really heavy thought. If you guys could just send me some strengths that you have, I want to kind of do like slowly do like a SWOT analysis in a sense. I think that might help us do some recentering and refocusing kind of too. And really kind of start, okay, so easy, like we're getting boggled down right now, even with the whole, like, those, apartment complexes, the strengths, let's see, what are we, like the fact that we do have a map that has pretty much all access. That's a strength, I think, that we
We have
yes,
access.
yeah.
The county has access.
Yes, the county has access, so we don't, essentially, that's one giant hurdle that we don't have to worry about, the strength, I would say like strengths are that we have, very highly involved businesses in our area, such as Padnos, Republic, Waste Management, Aero Waste, everyone, like we have very invested, and I think even the businesses that are, their income based is the recycling things, like, Steelcase and all them, they're also there. I think we have all those options. I think I see a shift towards organics too, and I think that not everyone's already seeing that shift, I think we have a lot of strength, and I want to make sure that we talk about them and that eventually we can do a SWOT. I think that would be very beneficial, and then it might give us some times when we start gearing off onto other things, a way to then like, all right, let's kind of like bring in and refocus. So if everyone could send me, I will resend this. Strengths. I'd really appreciate that.
You just want strengths, you don't.
Just
want to-
strengths right now. If you really want to go above and beyond, you can send me all of them. I was gonna.
I
we get
sometimes
talking
get-
a lot, so.
I personally like doing
Mhm.
them all together just because
Mhm.
I like, sometimes strengths can, like, they play off each
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
That's just me.
And that's, we can readjust it too. Again, this is essentially, I just make an agenda and then you guys can readjust it some, so.
Yeah.
So if you want the whole thing, then
And you
So-
just want us to just straight email those to you, not in any kind of format, and you'll just
I will,
take what we have and compile them?
I've learned the chat GPT. Said it correctly. Is really good at taking all that.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really good at, because we did that, we're at public health. We did some of that kind of stuff for work for our, strategic plan within public health. So, and they took all those and just put it in there and it made a nice little, like, you got 9 people that says, teamwork is your strength. All right, it's good to know that 9 of us think, so, yeah, just send them to me. At least identify, if you're gonna do all of them, identify what strengths, yeah. If not, it'll also probably, specify that, but. Excuse me, it gets a little crazy with what it thinks it knows, but
Not always accurate.
no, it's not. It's a tool, like everything we talked, yeah. So, yeah, I would appreciate that, and so the very minimum strengths. If you wanna go above and beyond. Send me all. That I think is all. Yeah, we kind of already dived into open discussion, so.
So do we wanna, does everybody wanna run through that PowerPoint slide deck? I mean, it's only 10, but it is very information intense.
Yeah, yeah, and my
I have to
essentially,
leave just a few minutes early, so
Yeah,
don't be
no.
offended when I leave.
No, I-
I've seen the nickel tour. I can dive.
yeah,
Sure,
that's what,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me,
at least, yeah, through and hit the high points and.
Especially
Yeah.
since you put it together and it does have a lot of good detail. Thank you.
yeah, it was
It'll be a
essentially,
good reference.
sometimes with Eagle, they have so many good documents and it's like, all right, where was this one at, or what's this point, or, so. I just wanted to kind of find a way to take all theirs and be able just to refocus kind of thing. Me sharing, you won't be able to see Eagle, I'm not Eagle. Teams, but I'm sharing my screen here, so I will then, doesn't work that way, I hate that it doesn't do that. So they can see it, but, all right. Sorry, guys, give me a second here. I always have like the plan of how I'm gonna do this. It doesn't ever work. So then now I gotta go back here, here, here. Find my mouse again. This way. Stop sharing. Share. That screen. There. And then. Right there. All right. I think everyone can see it. Not speak up or hold your peace. So again, just want to refresh your focus. The large components overall of what we're doing, the plan, is essentially, like demographics. Where is everything? It's to create this database, so all the facilities, all the operations within the materials management. So some of them are easy, like where the landfills are. But when it gets to our composting sites that are licensed, what are the municipalities have in their programs? I know that the law expanded on like composting, so there's more facilities that were not licensed compostings are required to, that kind of stuff, infrastructure.
Composting, that's the area I know the least about. Could we
Mhm.
maybe on a future agenda have you share a little bit about composting? I would just like, a 10 or 15 minute, what's happening with composting in Michigan would be lovely. Because I bet you just are full of knowledge I don't have.
Well, and I will just acknowledge a group from our organization went on the tour that Organicycle offered, and so that was extremely helpful. So that may be worth this committee doing a field trip at some point in the future.
Yeah, I just know it's
Yeah.
a moving target and I've been to compost sites,
Mhm.
but it's been
Yeah.
2 years since I've been to one and the laws are shifting pretty fast, so.
Yeah.
Very curious I'd love to know more.
So yes, and then, so yeah, database, essentially they have that database. In my mind, it involves GIS and you'd be able to simply click on a dot. So I know the state has one that's like that. But one a little bit more that would, cause I know you can take that data, throw it into Ottawa County's database and then also elaborate on it more. We have a great GIS team here, so we're fortunate. Yeah, so again, materials management goals and objectives that we have to set them. That, you know, municipal solid waste recycling rates, you got to implement the strategies, you have to show that you're working on that. You can't just say it, which is historically how the plan was, is we're gonna do this. That's it, that's all you gotta do. So, and I believe, I think that's next, so benchmarks, you know, Ottawa County's got a recycling rate of X, we're gonna shoot for Y. Those type of things have to be in the plan. An inventory of all your facilities and their capabilities, their transporter. So with infrastructure and systems, a big thing to remember is it doesn't necessarily have to lie within Ottawa County. It's with service. So for example, Republic's MRF, a lot of our stuff goes there. So they were part of our infrastructure. So knowing where our materials are going is part of that, from my understanding. Because that's another reason why it's so important for us to talk to Mesquite and Kent, Allegan, because a lot of our materials are shared. And our infrastructure is. Transportation would be similar too, like one vehicle isn't going in and out. I can say haulers, there's nothing on at the county level of knowledge. Some municipalities have haulers information, but really, I can tell you about hauling sewage. Like sewage septic haulers, because the county inspects their vehicles. That's about it. So that's more involved in that, managing your resources, citing. I think that's citing your mechanisms of how you're recording and capturing things, education, outreach. I know there's some discussion that there's possibly removal. Someone mentioned to me the education and outreach, or that they're playing with that part of Part 115 with the coal ash. I did not. I was trying to. A lot of changes that they're putting possibly in it with the coal ash stuff. So trying to take out the coal ash and seeing what the other changes are is a little tricky to do.
I
And
just
just
ignore this
post.
part for now.
Yeah, yeah. But either way, I think it's still important for us to educate and outreach, even if they do take it out. I think we should keep it in. Because without educating, no one knows what to do. Responsible parties, obviously the county is our responsible party here. They're just on there. They oversee everything. Essentially, they're the final, not the final say. Essentially, you guys are the final say and they're the final say. But since they elected you, CAA, that they still hold a little bit more. I put you guys on there, the committee. You direct me, you review and approve anything that I do. Ensure that we're meeting all those requirements set forth in Part 115. And again, you mentioned you have to approve it as well as the board has to approve it. You don't advise that here it is, we think this looks nice. You are required to approve it as well as the board. The board is our CAA. And then DPA, that's me. Essentially, I'm the point contact and like behind the scenes stuff. So simply state it. I like this picture and to box where we are, because you're like, wow, there's a big process. And we're like, but we're only on this little starting part.
This was very helpful, thank you.
Yeah,
Kind of like process maps.
me too. So that's why I'm like, and then it's nice because the next one kind of breaks it down too, like what that little box really means is we're right here. So I put check marks next to what we've done. So now
Yep.
the next step is obviously the work program, proving it, and Eagle approves it. And I put the date on there, so the tentative date. So, and then we can go into truly drafting it. And then once Eagle approves the work program, that's when the CAA becomes eligible per law wording. Or no. Either way, that's how it's set up. Do you understand the grant from what I got from, a lot of these pictures are from Eagle. I just put stuff on them. Like the amount we should roughly get about, $208,000 for the grant for the first 3 years, and then it's 60,000 after. So, and it's annual grants if you show progress towards a goal. You can't, again, they've made it so that you can't just say, hey, we have a goal. And then any additional funding you need to fund your program has to be funded through the CAA, some form. The state won't pay for it. Big picture. Identify materials, facilities, utilize your capacity, determine recycling rates, develop the management goals. You know, what is Ottawa County's focus that we want to do? Have your mechanisms be enforceable, and identify the responsible parties to implement them. What new, do we see a gap here? What are those gaps? What facilities would we need to do that to meet our goals? Those kind of type of things should be in there. Include the overview of your transportation structures and on all the materials that you're managing. How you're gonna implement it, have documents for it, and the annual grants and regional incentives. Key requirements. I'm not gonna go into little things, but yeah. Clearly state our goals, implement how we're gonna get those goals done, resource identification, material tracking, infrastructure evaluation, facilities inventory. Again, do we not have enough MRFs? We need more MRFs. What kind of MRFs? The MRFs need stuff to be able to do more. Capacity plans. Do we need to increase capacity? Do we have insufficient abilities to do so? Enforceable mechanisms. So if we're saying that you have to do this, well, what happens if they don't? So, so have compliance with that. Recycling rate calculations. So how are we going to calculate the recycling rate? I think that kind of is that access question, kind of, for including this material, which ones don't matter, which, volume, all that kind of stuff needs to be in there, and population and infrastructure analysts. So a lot of data. And then convenient recycling access. I think the word convenient is kind of important in there because like we talked about, like it's not defined. So what's convenient? Curbside is obviously the most convenient. Education and outreach. We can't tell people to do more if they don't understand how to do more. And then the siting. Outline new siting facilities. So that would be similar to what we had historically of like the facilities subcommittee. So if a new facility wants to come in, do we let them do it in a wetland? Do they comply with their local zoning ordinances? Those type of things. I know one thing that wasn't ever brought up before was vertical expansions. Is there any concerns with vertical expansions in Ottawa County? That kind of stuff. That's it. Look through that. You guys don't mind.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting it all together, really. And
Yeah.
great that you copied and pasted like the maps and stuff. That was
Yeah.
perfect.
For me, that's a good way to kind of evaluate where we're at. Yeah, so I think it's discussion and open to the community. So if they have anything, like I think last time, have you had your drain water? Not you specifically, but
Yeah. Yeah, was there any other open discussion, or do we want to just kind of run around and share items from the committee? But it's about at the end of the day, right? Yeah, so yeah, I'll share, because I shared at the last meeting, we were having some cleanup events. So we had the Pigeon River cleanup event on September 7th, and we had 30 volunteers like register, and they all showed up, which I've never had happen before, so that was incredible. And Mike Savitino, the township supervisor, was there, and one of the candidates for county commissioner. was there also, so that was nice to have some, some community leaders present. We collectively removed about 175 pounds of trash, so not a huge amount, but more than I had expected. For it being very limited public access on Sheldon Landing there, and we did get quite a few people in kayaks, which they didn't remove as much from the water as we removed from that Sheldon Landing, or like picnic. It was like picnic materials mostly,
Okay.
food wrappers and cans and bottles and a lot of alcohol containers. And then Joe Bush's office also had one in the Macatawa watershed, on a drain that runs, if you're familiar with like Lakewood Boulevard, and there's that massive apartment complex going up, there's a drain that runs right there from Lakewood. We went north to James and then even further north, so about 1.5 mile stretch. I don't think they were able to weigh it, but the estimated amount removed was 1,500 pounds of
Wow.
trash,
Oh, wow.
plus 7 tires that wasn't in that weight. So it was we had no idea. And that was, I think we only had 19 volunteers that were able to remove that much. It was the most physically grueling cleanup event I've ever been to. So I think it kind of goes to show that, there's a lot in our streams that we need to deal with. And so I think our organization is going to continue to partner with Joe on the drains in the Macatawa for sure. Because like I said, that was like 1.5 mile stretch, and there are, hundreds of miles of drains out there.
That's been a vacant piece of property for a long time.
Yeah.
As well too.
Yeah.
Even seeing stuff off of lake would get
Mhm.
like tossed there. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that property was.
Yeah.
That way.
Right. Yeah, because some of it, there certainly are some houses that come up fairly close to that drain, and and because like we pulled out a whole toilet that somebody just dumped in the drain. We pulled out a car axle. I mean, it was big stuff. So
Well, at
that
least
was-
that can be recycled for money.
Yeah. Benefit there.
So I think, Joe will probably talk to you in the future, Russ, about providing, I can't remember who a roofing company provided a dumpster. And he had porta potties donated through a grant. Joe was able to bought pizza for everybody, so we were out there for a good 4 hours. It was a lot of work. And we still have one more event coming up this coming Saturday for Lake Macatawa. It's much less physically intense than this drain cleanup was, but. Good. So yeah, anybody else have anything to share? I mentioned the tour at Organicide was really great.
Yeah, thanks. I threw my back out, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
Bad, no. We just partnered with Founders, and Founders will be distributing our compost to the public.
Cool.
So we can now make that available to Ottawa County participants and anyone else. The Founders live here, and they go in the bag. Compost.
Sweet.
Okay.
You guys had talked about attending that, like it was
Materials
through the material, it was through MRC, yeah.
Yeah.
Materials. Did you guys go to that?
I did, yes.
How was it?
Yeah. It was a long 3 days, but it still was engaging. There's some basic information, but then there was a lot of, stuff about the plan, and they had to go pretty quick because there's so much with the plan and some of the details of it. But yeah, like that comment about how Eagle says that if you have a hauler in that area qualifies as convenient access, but yeah, that came from there. So
Yeah.
it was good. Yeah, interesting. And there was people from the UP, there's people from the Detroit area, Saginaw, Marquette, as well. So
Was it a lot of municipalities, or like, was there people from the general public or businesses?
a lot of, municipalities, and then people that were gonna be on, MNPCs. So, yeah. And there's some DPAs there as well too.
Okay. Thanks for going.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it sold out, like it was filled, yeah.
Yeah, it was full.
Other updates to share from anyone?
I think my biggest one is, we have our first meeting with Dan's group to talk about the recycle center that he's working on. That meeting's tomorrow morning, so I don't really have much to report other than I'm excited about the meeting. To start laying that out and talk about what that recycle center will look like and figuring out those details. We've have some preliminary sketches. We have a building that we think we can move onto the site to save some of the construction costs. And have some drawings. That hopefully somebody emails me. That's why I keep looking at my phone. I'm really hoping
Yeah.
that they email them to me so I can show them tomorrow morning, but they haven't yet.
Yeah.
You know, I can hope, I can dream, but,
Oh, yeah.
I think that area is gonna turn out really cool because I love the idea that it can tie in eventually to the Riverwalk down there. I don't know how much, you know, this is why I'm curious about composting. I don't know how much
Yeah.
of a need for more composting there is in this area.
Mhm.
I don't know what the, you know, like, I don't know what the access is. I don't know how much. It seems like there's more need for composting in general throughout the state, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know whose toes I'm stepping on, so I say this with
Yeah.
in innocence, like, don't shoot me. But if there could be composting on the other side of our site and that land that's really being underutilized, and we can have like a hard to recycle an education center, and then what we do, and then that, and a river walk, and be able to, like, that's a whole sustainability park in and of itself, and that'd be great, and it would just happen naturally and functionally and be a beautiful thing, and could be a really good asset for the community. I love it. So, the Padnos family's 100% behind it. Which is a good thing, so.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and we'll be pretty heavily involved in the educational side of that.
Great.
Yeah, I think Jack mentioned that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we
and
talked
because we
about-
manage the greenway too, so.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it could be beautiful. Be a really cool thing.
Yeah, we've been talking to Dan about, stormwater and green infrastructure and how can we incorporate that into the site, so.
Well, and you
there's
probably
still
don't know
great
that I have a back, before I did my gig at Padnos, I did lead construction projects. So I built the first green roof in the city of Grand Rapids, the first zero stormwater detention site, and also on the rain garden, so my brain just automatically goes there. So when, as I think about the site, like, that's my 25-year plan. So it probably interests you.
Yeah.
As
So,
soon-
yes.
As soon as,
Yep, and-
as soon as I hear the word stormwater, it sends a shiver down my back. As
We
I
wanna
was in the
avoid
city
that.
of- Because I was in the city of Lansing, I was the city attorney involved in the stormwater separation.
Yeah.
My name is very prevalent in the lawsuit with
Yeah.
Alexander Bolt, so,
Yeah.
yeah, please don't bring that word up again.
Okay, well, we won't. Well, that's why you have rain gardens, is to
Yeah. Yeah.
filtrate and avoid having stormwater, actually, is the idea. Well, you can't avoid it, but you filter it
Yeah.
naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
Capture and infiltrate,
Yeah,
slow it down,
Yeah.
spread it out, soak it.
yeah,
Spencer's got one of those.
they work.
Yeah.
I mean, they really work, so.
Okay, any other general items from the committee? Okay. We already took care of our action item.
Yeah.
So then one more opportunity for public comment. So then our next meeting, October 23, back at 9 o'clock, and I assume this room again.
Yes, so not back at 9. It was at 10.
Oh,
You guys moved all the meetings to 9.
we moved it to, okay.
I just wanna make sure that
Yeah,
that was understood that it's
But
not
back in the
9,
morning.
so don't come back, yeah.
I'm gonna miss the October meeting. I think I said that last time, but I just wanted to
Yes.
reiterate that. I will be in Detroit.
Okay, I guess with that, we would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll be that way.
Unless nobody wants to leave.
But that must have been you guys don't want to leave.
Yeah. This group's so cool.
Anyone want to second that?
Okay, discussion? No.
All
Okay, all in
right.
favor? Yeah,
I-
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have
Yeah,
a great
thank you
day.
guys.
What's left of
You
it.
as well. You
Yeah.
will.
I was going to.
You're such a good chair.
They said it's.
Hey, it's just